This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. June's featured entertainment includes Skillet on the 28th and Pete Davidson on the 29th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and comedians of our time. Stand-up great Kathleen Madigan cracks up the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia this Saturday. She joined me to reflect on her prolific stand-up career, including cracking jokes with her golfing buddies Ron White and Lewis Black, who grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, but never told her the origin of Stevie Nicks' song Silver Springs.
Hi, Jason. It's Kathleen.
Hey, Kathleen Madigan. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
It's good to hear your voice. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, you're coming to the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on June 22nd. It's just over the line there, and we're in D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, but West Virginia is right nearby.
It's a beautiful drive. It's a beautiful drive. I've done it many times. It's a wonderful reason to get out of the city.
Oh, I love it out there. It's amazing driving through those mountains and everything. It's awesome. But you're calling this the Boxed Wine and Tiny Banjos Tour. What's in the name? They're two things that you don't really think about together: boxed wine and tiny banjos. Explain.
It's a joke about being at a bar with a snobby wine friend of mine, and he was like, "Do they have a wine list?" And I'm like, Lewis, we're at a dive bar. They have box wine, and there's 3 colors. And you should know that because if you look on the wall, there's a squirrel stuffed playing a tiny banjo. So I think those are tip-offs. There's no wine list here, Lou. He's such a wine snob. Like, he's not even aware of where he's at. I'm like, look around, Lou. These people don't have a wine list. There's a box wine in the fridge, red, white, or pink. You pick it. That's
no wine at these roadside bars. There, you got to drink some beer or whiskey here.
Exactly, but he's not a beer guy, so I'm like, well, then drink, vodka and cranberry. Just drink something out of a bottle, but not a wine bottle. My God.
What does the bartender in It's a Wonderful Life say? He says, "We serve hot drinks for folks that want to get drunk quick in here." All right. I don't know how we got that reference in here. All right, box wine and tiny banjos. All right, that's awesome. So I assume then that means, and you're going to be at a casino where I think I read somewhere that they have a policy where they hand out free drinks to the people playing the casino floor. So my point is it like a raucous crowd when you play these casinos?
They're not like crazy or nothing. They're just they're a little more fun than your average crowd because it's they're gamblers to start with, most of them, and they're drinkers, and they're taking the free drinks. And I don't think people that my little fan group, they're not like wild. They're just normal. So it's nice. Yeah, it's a little more fun than average crowd at 7:00 that hasn't had a drink, but nothing where it gets out of hand.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about people throwing chairs. You can sit back and have a nice date night, bring your husband, wife, and laugh your butt off.
Exactly.
It's a great venue. It really is. All right, cool. Well, what else? Whenever I have a comedian, I don't want to burn their specific punchlines. But how can we tease it? What are some general topics maybe you explore other than box wine and tiny banjos?
Well, lately I've been talking a lot about aging parents, which may not seem fun, but it can be funny. And I think, I don't know, when you get to be around 50, all of our parents start going crazy, like health-wise. And then I realized, I said to my friend Robert, I'm like, I don't think my parents had a plan for old age. He said, oh, no, they had a plan. The plan is us, Kathleen. We're the plan. And I went, oh, right. I forgot. They have it. And then they get old and then they can't, I'm like, Mom, have you and Dad ever talked about end of life stuff? She's like, well, of course we have. I said, well, what did he say? She's like, well, I forgot. So, what are we dealing with? What are we doing? And I don't know. It's like old people with driving. Like, should you take their keys away, at a certain point where I followed my parents home from a casino and they had not drank at all. I do not know how he didn't get pulled over 18 times. He looked hammered. That car was jumping medians. I mean, and that's just their normal driving, no drunk. And I'm like, wow, man. But, the doctors won't take the keys. They leave it up to us, and that's never going to go well. My dad took my grandpa's keys and his car, and my grandpa got in a taxi when he left and bought another car. I mean, they have money. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
So I've been talking a lot about that kind of stuff just because I think people that come to my shows are kind of in the age range. There's younger ones because of the podcast, which is fun, but they can just pretend it's their grandparents that I'm talking about.
That's great. That's great. And I think you're still doing what, like 250 nights a year or something like that. So you're going strong.
Yeah, it's the job I wanted. So I like it. I know a lot of people would be like, that's too much. But I kind of feel like, for me anyway, stand-up is something you got to be doing or not doing. It's like going to the gym. Like
right.
I can't just go once a month and then expect it to be fine. It won't be.
Right.
I need to do it a lot to be good at it. Yeah. I mean, I could fake it.
Yeah.
But that's not fair to people paying money to come and see it. So the more I do it, the better I am. And then I feel bad if I don't keep it up. So
I love that. You said that, well, this is the job I wanted. This is the business we've chosen. But
yeah.
But, well, speaking of which, to take me sort of into, I love to have everyone, their backstory when they come on. So when you decided you wanted this job. So I know you were born in Missouri. What is it? Fluorescent? Not fluorescent. The lights were shining.
Yeah, no, you got it right. Yeah.
Fluorescent.
It's right next to Ferguson, which you may remember.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was my school district, Ferguson, Florissant. Yeah. So it's St. Louis. It's just a suburb of St. Louis.
Who were your favorite comedians growing up? Like who, before you even knew you wanted to do it, as an actual stand-up, but like when you were growing up near the Ozarks or whatever, who were you watching?
Yeah. I really wasn't. Like my mom and dad were really into music. Like I can name every band from 75 on because of them. Like they always had music on. If I did stay up to watch Johnny Carson, like let's say he had a comedian on, I didn't even understand they were comedians. I thought it was just one of his funny friends. So
right.
Like if Buddy Hackett was on the couch telling some story, or Bill Cosby, I didn't even understand that was a job, like that guy would go away and make money doing that. I just thought it was a funny friend of Johnny Carson's.
Right. Who just
I didn't understand. Yeah. So, yeah. So the people that I looked up to were the people that when I started were like 10 years older than me in clubs. Like I saw them in person, I'd see them whether it was Ron White or Roseanne or Lewis Black or the people that are older than me. Like I'm not a good comedy student. When people say, oh, the Richard Pryor album, I'm like, yeah, I don't know all that. Like, I haven't even gone back and listened, because then I don't know. When I'm off, I don't want to listen to comedy. So now I'm always working. So I'm not going to go do it.
You're like, I could tell you what, Zeppelin album came out in the 70s, but I don't know when Richard Pryor album.
Exactly. And my parents were all over the map, from pop to rock to country. So I can name a Waylon Jennings album just as easily as Diana Ross. It was all music.
I think it's good to know all the different genres. I love them all too. But
well, in the 70s, they were all popular. Like, disco, Donna Summer, and then the next song would be John Denver. It was kind of bizarre. I mean, when you think about it, like the radio station would play all of that.
Yeah.
Like, and then we're going to go to Heart. Like, whoa. Donna Summer too. Yeah. Like, and then, Sly and the Family Stone, they throw in a little funk there too. It was just, it was I still think it was the best decade for music. By far.
It was phenomenal. It really was. And I mean, I wasn't born until 84, but I've gone back, obviously, and I can recite it all by heart too. I love it. Hey, so you mentioned, all right, so Lewis Black and those kind of Ron White, and those were sort of inspirations along the way. Lewis Black's actually from around DC. We had him on the other day.
Yes, he is. He's
But
my best
okay,
friend. Yes, he's
one of
from
your best.
Silver Spring, Maryland. Yeah.
So great, so great.
And then I had to send him the announcement that Stevie Nicks wrote the song Silver Springs. I know it's Silver Spring. She didn't read the sign right, but she wrote that song because she thought it was the most beautiful name of a city ever. And I sent it to Lewis and I said, I love Stevie Nicks. And I'm like, how come you never told me about this, about Stevie Nicks, Lewis? I find this to be a failure on your part. You should know that Stevie wrote one of her greatest songs about your hometown, and you don't even know that. Yep.
Just made it plural, added an extra S.
Yeah, she just made it a bunch of springs.
you should point that out to him, Kathleen Madigans. All right, so trying to get it back on track chronologically. So then you're doing the journalism school and then doing stand-up gigs while working at local newspapers because obviously I'm in journalism, so that's that speaks to me.
Yeah, and then I went to college and all that, and then I got a journalism degree, and I worked for a year and a half doing a in-house magazine thing. And I remember like every morning getting up to go to work, and I said to my dad, like, when do you get used to this morning thing? He's like, well, for me, never. And I was like, oh God. I was hoping you wouldn't say that. I was hoping you'd say it'll take about a year. I just am not a morning person. I don't know why they wouldn't have let people do like 10 to 7. I'd be so much more productive.
Yeah.
But then I just accidentally went to an open mic night with a friend as a goof off thing because we were bartending too to make extra money. And then me and him did it for fun. And then I just kept doing it.
That's great. And then you really start catching on with, you get like HBO specials and Comedy Central and all that, to the point that in 96, you win at the American Comedy Awards, the funniest female stand-up comic award. So talk about how your career, like at that point, either how big of an honor that was, or just in general, when it was really starting to rock and roll for you.
Well, I never had a big thing, like a sitcom, like take a Ray Romano or something or Roseanne or Brett Butler for that matter. Sitcoms were all the rage for people that age. But by the time they got around to me, they were kind of over giving a stand-up as sitcoms. And then if you even go back further than that, I always thought this is crazy. So when the Tonight Show was on, there were only 4 channels, 3 networks, and then whatever fuzzy local channel you got in your town, right? So every night, a third of the country was watching Johnny Carson. Well, you can't get those numbers now unless you said the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to gather that many people's much attention. It's impossible. So when you used to go on the Tonight Show, you were famous overnight. Like Roseanne went on and then boom, the whole country, it was 2/3 of the country. 2/3 of the country saw her that night and they all liked her. So she got instantly famous. Just for people my age, there just wasn't a thing like that. Yeah. It was just a slow train, the train that could just keep going and going. And then every little thing put another thing on your train. And finally you get there. And the only reason you get there is because you don't have to worry about your rent. You're like, I'm good. I got it. Okay. I got a little money in the bank and I can pay the bills. I'm good.
Awesome. Well, we won't make you go through all the train cars. I'll list a couple, and then before we go, I want to tease some of your newer specials. But just for posterity's sake, I'll just list these. You do the albums, like on CD, Kathleen Madigan later reissued as live, and Shallow Happy Thoughts for the Soul. Then you do some DVDs, in other words, Gone Madigan again. But tell me about your Netflix special, Bothering Jesus. I think that was like one of the highest selling or most played comedy albums, at least streaming wise, since all that was started being tracked in the mid 2010s or whatever. But yeah, memories of putting Bothering Jesus together.
Yeah, that was a fun one, and it was fun to work with Netflix. Same goes for Amazon. They don't really edit you. Like I showed them what I was going to do for the most part, sent them a tape from a theater and said, this is what I plan. And they were like, yeah, that's cool. Send it to us when you're done and we'll post it. It's like a posting board. And I mean, I had people that produced it and edited it and stuff, so it looked right, like it's supposed to. But I mean, we just sent it over and they posted it. But back in the day, if you had HBO or Showtime, oh my God, you had to get on the phone with lawyers. Yeah. And if I said Taco Bell, we got to change it to Taco Night, or wow. It was they were so sensitive. Like when people say, "Oh, we're so politically correct now," oh no, we were way worse. Right. Trust me. Yeah, and these guys kind of give you free although Amazon, I did some jokes about my mom and dad, and they're like, "Do you think your parents would sign a release?" I said, first of all, I've been doing jokes about my parents for 35 years,
Yeah.
and they like it, and I take them on great vacations and buy them stuff. They're fine. But I said, I am not with my parents, and I am not going to send them a PDF file that you think they're going to be able to open and then DocuSign and then email that back. I said, better than that, I'm going to give you their cell phone numbers. You can
ask
call
them
my
on
mom
there.
and dad.
That's great.
You tell the lawyers at Amazon, you call my parents, see if their phones are charged. They rarely are. If you get a hold of them, you let me know.
Yeah, they're never going to DocuSign. You might as well just talk.
No,
knock
it's
on their
not
door
happening.
in person. That's great. And by the way, folks, that one is called Hunting Bigfoot if you want to look it up on Amazon Prime. Well, hey, before we run, Tease, I know you did the Sirius XM radio show, Blue Collar Comedy, but I wanted you to more recently, I guess, plug the weekly podcast you do. It's called Madigan's Pubcast. I think it has over like 5 million downloads if you want to cross promote with this one. But
yeah.
how rewarding has it been, and a cool outlet to be able to, go on this crazy podcast world?
It's actually been a lot of fun. I thought it would be a chore and something that I would begrudge doing every week. And I was going to stop after COVID and I went back on the road, and then I just still wanted to do it. And I like that there's a lot of young people that like podcasts more than other stuff. And they didn't even know I was a comedian. They found me through the podcast, and then, it'll just lead you. And then they're like, "Oh, wow, you do this other thing for a living?" I'm like, "Yes, they're young, so I won't be offended that you have no idea I've been doing this 150 years, but it's been super fun." And there's like a team email, and they all email stuff, and 99% of the people are 100% cool. Nothing negative, nothing weird. It's just been great.
And then that 1%.
Yeah, there's always
time.
one. And even the people that are the 1% in mine, it's nothing bad. It's just like they'll do some weird correction. Well, there actually have been 47 Bigfoot sightings in Oregon, Kathleen. And if you were to research, that kind of stuff, you're like, okay, I said 50. Sorry, I was 3 off.
3 Bigfoots makes a big difference when some people haven't seen one. So. Round it up.
On how many people saw those 50? Was it one guy that saw 50, or was it 50 individuals that saw 50?
Right. Was it the same Bigfoot that 47 people saw? You never know.
Exactly. You don't know.
That's awesome. Well, it's the same that goes with your 5 million downloads, I guess. Was it 5 million people, or is it one person just playing it on a loop 5 million times?
Exactly. Could be.
You never know. All right. Final seconds when to leave a quote about you from one of your idols, Ron White. You said he's one of your favorite comedians, the one of the geniuses of that Blue Collar Comedy tour. He once said, quote, "There's nobody better than Maddie." So when you hear stuff like that from someone you admire, what's your reaction? Do you agree? There's no one better than you?
No, I do not agree. I would always say Bill Burr is better than me. For somebody my age range, yeah, Bill Burr. He's got more guts than I do. I'm more of the fun lady at the end of the bar. He's the guy that's going to get in an argument about the Yankees and the Red Sox. Like he's got more chutzpah than I do when it comes to crazy topics and stuff. But when somebody like Ron says it, no, I know he means it. I don't think much about it. I mean, it's sweet he says it. I told Louis Black, if he would mention my name when he does like Good Morning America network TV, he'll get a dozen Titleist golf balls every time he mentions my full name. So, now I've got them doing it on purpose. I'm like, "Lou, would you like a free dozen Titleist balls that you don't want to spend $47 on? Say my name on Good Morning America tomorrow. You're welcome."
It has to be a Titleist, like George Costanza's ball in the blowhole of the whale. Is it a Titleist? It has to be a Titleist.
It has to be a Titleist.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Louis will play with any free thing I send, but he prefers Titleist.
Okay. Do you golf as well or no?
I do. Yeah, me and him, and I go with Ron a lot. I go with Louis a lot.
Oh gosh.
We go all over when we're off. Yeah.
Those golf carts, they have to be hilarious. I can't imagine the conversations between. That's great.
Well, Ron is very normal. Louis is extremely excitable. He really needs to calm down a little bit out there. I really think it's possible he could actually die on a golf course having a stroke.
Oh my
possible.
God. Yeah, he needs to chill a little bit. That'll be the pull quote of this interview. I'll say Ron White said there's nobody better than Maddie, end quote. And Kathleen Madigan said Ron White is very normal.
He's very.
All right.
It's true.
I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Again, everyone, Kathleen Madigan, one of the great, stand-up comics of our time, is coming to Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on June 22nd. So get your tickets now. Hey, thanks for doing this.
All right, Jason, have a good one. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.